talking about two watches from the Casio Edifice Slim line. The more fancy version is on the left, and that is the EQB1000, and the one on the right is the EFR-S107D. So let's get right into it. Starting off as always with price, the EQB1000 is going to retail for about $260 depending on where you shop, and the EFR-S107 will go for about $80 to $90. Let's do a quick 360 starting off with the EQB1000, and both of these watches are going to be very similar. The only major difference is going to be functions, and the dimensions are actually a little bit different, but there you go. For dimensions, starting off with the EFR, with the crown included from 3 to 9 o'clock, you get about just over 43 millimeters, but with the EQB1000, let's see, we get just under 47. And then as far as thickness or depth, case depth, 8.5 for the EFR, and then for the EQB, let's see, just over 9 millimeters. For weight, with the EFR, you get a weight of about 150 grams or 4 ounces. And then for the EQB1000, let's see, 130 grams or 4.5 ounces. And here they are side by side, just so you can kind of get a better idea of what they would look like side by side. And rightly so, the EQB1000 is going to be a little bit bigger and heavier, but you know, it's got a lot more jam-packed in there. But I still think they did a fantastic job adding all of the features in such a slim package. Here is the wrist shot for the EFR, and another one with the EQB1000. Going over functions and features, starting off with the EFR, there's really not much here, guys. You've got a very slender case design with a sapphire crystal, and then other than that, you know, you've got a regular analog watch face, a date window right there, 100 meters water resistance. And unfortunately, the lume here is very weak. It is only applied to the hour and minute hand. And I will go ahead and put that on the screen right now so you can see, you know, it's there, but it's going to last you all of 30 minutes and then be effectively useless after that. So, you know, very simple analog watch here, which, you know, is not a bad thing, but just keep in mind it's going to be a very simple watch. Now going over the EQB1000, which is going to be a little bit more complex. Starting off with the main dial. So you've got your main hour hand and minute hand, and then at the 12 o'clock subdial, that's sort of like a GMT dial. So it'll tell you if it's AM or PM. So if the hand is on the right side, then it's AM, and on the left side, then it is PM. The 9 o'clock subdial is your dual time subdial, so you can set it to whatever time zone you want, and right underneath that, so it's kind of like a half subdial, is another AM or PM subdial for the dual time dial. And then underneath here it's a dual purpose subdial. It's your split time subdial, and then also, well, I wouldn't call it a split time, I guess you could call it like a split difference. So you see here it goes from -5 all the way to +1. So when you're using your chronograph and you use the split time feature, it will tell you the difference between multiple times. So let's say you ran a lap in, you know, 10 seconds, and then the next lap you run it in 9 seconds. So then here this hand will point to -1, telling you that there was, you know, you ran the second lap in a second less. And then it's also a function subdial because it will point to dual time or alarm if you are in that feature set, which I'll show you that later. Now I'm going to try and explain to you the chronograph function without confusing you or myself. Getting to the chronograph is very simple. You hit this top button and now it is measuring time. Now let's say at the 5 o'clock we stop. So start, stop, and reset. But to use the split time functionality, instead of hitting the stop button again, you would hit this bottom button. So we're starting the stopwatch, and let's say at 5 seconds we finished the lap, and now we started a new lap, and then let's say I wanted to stop. So now the split time difference will show you I ran that second lap 1 second less than I did the first lap. And so that's just a very quick, simple way to explain this function. And then to start the timer again, or start the stopwatch again, I would just hit this button, and if I wanted to reset, I would stop and reset. So now we're back in main time mode, or how the manual calls it as calendar mode. To get to dual time and alarm, what you have to do is pull the crown out to the first position. And now it's in the first position, and then so this split time difference subdial now also functions as a mode subdial. So now it's telling me I'm in dual time mode, which means that from here I can adjust the time in the 9 o'clock subdial, and I would do that just by turning the crown. So now you see it's automatically turning. I can, if I hit the other direction, it'll stop, and then it'll adjust in 15-minute increments, but it'll always be in sync with the main minute hand. And then, once it's adjusted, and I can hit this A button, and now I can adjust the alarm. So, it's not ideal, but once you get the hang of it, you read the instruction manual once, it's quite simple, and you can kind of navigate your way without too much difficulty. And then, of course, to adjust the main time, you pull the crown out to the second position, and now you can adjust the minute hand. If you turn it fast, if you turn the crown fast, then the minute hand will move quickly, and then to stop it, you would just turn the crown in the other direction. And then hitting the button in sequential order will change what you're adjusting. So first it's going to adjust the hour hand and minute hand, then you'll go and adjust the year, I want to say month and date, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds with it. That's just how you adjust the time and date manually. Now all of that might have sounded quite complex and confusing. I know, at least for me it is, but fortunately another function that this watch has is that it's Bluetooth compatible. So all you need to do is download the app on your phone, and then it will sync to your phone and then automatically adjust all of its time, its dual time and everything, and you don't have to go through that complex procedure of manually adjusting the time. Aside from the other complex features, the case material is going to be exactly the same as the EFR. You're going to have a sapphire crystal, stainless steel case and bracelet. It's all pretty much identical with the exception of the internals. You've got loom here as well, but it is utilized way more effectively. So you've got it on the hour hand and minute hand, as you can see on the screen, but also around all of the indices. As far as quality goes, it's the same, very short-lived. I really wish Casio upped their game when it came to loom, but at least it's better than the EFR version. And I almost forgot to mention that this version is solar powered, and it's kind of like one of the largest features for me, and I forgot to mention it. But yeah, before I forgot, I just wanted to bring that up. So that's always a good thing, getting a watch that's solar powered, no complaints there. So now just going over my personal thoughts. There's no denying that I think the Slimline is exceptionally cool. I don't think it's perfect, and frankly I don't think I'm going to keep the EQB1000, and I'll explain that later. But just from a person who's looking to buy a watch, I think this is definitely a viable option. Great reliability. Casio has always been fantastic. And then as far as quality of materials, it's going to be just fine for the everyday average Joe. What I like about the EFR is that it is simple. The slimness of the case is perfect for wearing when you're in an office setting and you have a button-up shirt. It's going to slide right underneath your cuff, perfectly, and it's just a very practical feature. Wearing a very large watch sometimes isn't the most comfortable or practical during just an everyday work environment, so I think they did a great job here. Also, having a sapphire crystal is a fantastic thing. It's one less thing you got to worry about. It's super scratch resistant, which makes it perfect as an everyday watch. The one thing that I don't like about it is the flimsiness of the overall body and bracelet. These are pretty much hollow, stamped, folded steel links, and I'm used to, I guess you could call them denser feeling watches, and that's just the nature of the design. You're gonna have a small, slim design. It's gonna feel very light and possibly flimsy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just for my personal taste, I'm not a fan of it. So that's really just my opinion. Now going to the EQB1000, I really want to like this watch. The whole principle and philosophy behind it being this super slim but jam-packed with features type watch, it really appeals to me. I just don't really like how they executed it. I think they primarily focused on this being a Bluetooth watch. And for me, that's just not my thing. I don't like having a watch that is designed to be dependent on a cell phone. I guess there's just something, maybe I'm just old-fashioned. I just like the watch and phone to be two separate things, or else the watch really isn't a watch anymore. It's just a extension or accessory to your cell phone. I also don't really like how everything is kind of fly-by-wire, and what I mean by that is when I pull out the crown to make adjustments, I'm not directly connected to the hands. So I'll pull it out to adjust the hour and minute hands, and me turning this crown is just sending electrical signals to the internals, which will then activate the motor to turn the hour hand and minute hand. I am not directly mechanically agitating or moving the hour hand and minute hand. And I think that's a really cool futuristic design, but also, again, personally for me, I just don't prefer that. But enough about my opinions. Just as an unbiased person looking at the watch for what it is, I think the quality is fantastic. My opinions are the same for the bracelet on this version because they're exactly the same. It's just cheap, hollow, and flimsy. I will say that the finishing on both watches is beautifully done. You've got it polished where it needs to be polished and brushed where it needs to be brushed. So you've got like a very attractive looking overall watch that doesn't look too blingy. It still looks mechanical, still looks like a tool watch, but just enough shine to really glimmer in the sunlight. So now the big question is, which one should you get? And I will say, on paper, if you're just looking at the specifications, obviously the win is going to go to the EQB1000. But I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm going to have to take the EFR. I'm going to have to give that one the win today. The EFR-S107 is just a simple quartz analog watch. And I am a simple man. I'm not very smart. So a simple watch like this that requires minimal maintenance and minimal adjustments is perfect for me. It's very budget friendly, and I think it looks beautiful. And it's going to be just a very humble but charming everyday office watch. The EQB1000 is also a fantastic watch, but it's just not in line with my philosophies in a wristwatch. Now, if it matches your personality and what you like in a watch, then that's perfect. I'm not going to take away from the overall quality of the design and functions and features. Everything works the way that it should. It's not for me. Plus, it's 3 times the amount of the EFR, and for me, if I'm just buying a watch because of the way it looks, then there's no need for me to spend 3 times as much on a fancier design. Really, I shouldn't even be comparing these two watches because they're both completely different, and the only thing they share is a similar case, shape, and design. But they're both from Edifice, and they're both from the Slim line, so I had to do a comparison. But I hope the takeaway is that both of these watches are great. Whether or not you should get one or the other just depends on your budget and your lifestyle. If you're not really into measuring time or super accurate timekeeping, then there's no need to fork over almost $300 for the EQB1000. Just get something less than $100, and you get the same look and the same style without all the bells and whistles that you wouldn't really ever need anyways on a day-to-day basis. But giving credit where credit's due, I do think it is brilliant what Casio did here with the EQB1000. The fact that they jam-packed all of these very functional features into such a slim case is the coolest thing ever. And it does look very clean. I will give them that. So that's all I got to say for now. I hope that you enjoyed this review. I hope that I could give you some insight on which model you wanted to get. But that's all I got to say for now. And I hope that you guys are enjoying your holidays. And I will catch you on the next episode. All right, bye.